discussion, which is with respect to Lord Krishna's Govardhan Lila. And today also happens to be the day when the Lord actually performed this wonderful pastime. Shri Shri Govardhan Puja Ki Jai. So on this auspicious day, we are entering into a discussion of a most wonderful pastime of Lord Krishna. Most of you would already know this pastime. So as Prabhuji mentioned, we will try and go into some deeper, intricate lessons that we get from this particular pastime. Of course, when we get into the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, the most significant aspect of his pastimes in Vrindavan is about sweetness. It is all about attracting the heart of the devotee and the heart of everyone else who's a non-devotee as well. So, we say when we don't know a person, we don't get to relate with a person as much as we would with a person whom we know very well. So when we know a person better, we're able to relate in a better manner. So similarly here, the Lord's pastimes give us an opportunity to know him better. Of course, we are not participating in his pastimes literally as the Vrajabasi did, but we are listening to his pastimes. We are reading about his pastimes. And through that process, Krishna is endearing himself to us. And therefore, we develop a great deal of love and affection for Lord Krishna. And that helps us to move along the path of bhakti. So Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and when he was here was more, particularly in Vrindavan, was more about sweetness, playing these wonderful pastimes, stealing butter, and doing all these mischievous things. All of it just endeared him substantially. That was what it was all about. Of course, there was also the display of his majesty, his opulence, and all of that was also displayed. And that had its purpose too. The purpose of that was to show all the people that, there are many people out there who might claim themselves to be God. But if they are, at least the gurus, the acharyas interpret it in this way that, if you really think you're God, then why don't you try doing some of these pastimes of the Lord? Why don't you try lifting the Govardhan hill, right? So Krishna's pastimes had the dual role of both attracting our heart as well as, showing how a God really is. But at the same time, very significantly, Lord Krishna plays his pastimes in Vrindavan as an eternal pastime. And the pastime is not so much so about how he is the supreme personality of Godhead and how he can do all these things, how he has all these 6 opulences. He's the strongest, he's the most beautiful, he's the most famous, he's the most renounced, he's the wealthiest, and so on and so forth. But it's not all about that. Krishna doesn't want to be seen as a God. So his relationship with the Vrajabasis is more about loving exchanges. That's all he wants. In fact, the Vrajabasis don't treat him as the supreme personality of Godhead. They tease him, they jump on his back, they wrestle with him, and that's what he really likes. So the supreme personality of Godhead doesn't want to be seen as God, whereas there are others who want to be called as God. So it's so different. Right? So let's see how. There are 2 very important things, therefore, that we learn through this particular pastime of the Lord. One is how his sweet pastimes endear him to us and the Vrajabasis, and also how we as aspiring devotees, we have important lessons to learn from this particular pastime. So now Krishna has just finished one pastime, and now he's observing all the Vrajabasis there, led by Nanda Maharaj, making elaborate preparations for something. And Krishna is wondering, what's happening here. Of course, Krishna knows what's happening, right? He's omnipotent, he's omniscient, and he's omnipresent. So he's Sarvadarshana. He knows what is happening everywhere. He's in the heart of everyone. So he knows the future, he knows the past, he knows everything. So he knows what exactly is happening there. Yet he asks them, what's happening here? What are all these preparations? But at the same time, Lord Krishna knows that if he were to ask them what these preparations are, they also have to take him seriously. He's just a 7-year-old boy. So it's quite possible that they'll say, oh, is this just a 7-year-old boy? We should not give too much weightage to his questions. So right when he starts speaking, with a lot of sincerity, he asks his father, what's happening here? Is this a custom or is this some religious rite? What are you doing? Don't hold back from me, because Nanda Maharaj was hesitating. So Krishna continued, he said, don't hold back. Saintly people shouldn't keep back secrets. They don't keep back secrets. Saintly people don't distinguish between friends and enemies and neutral people. And they should treat friends like as if they treat themselves. And I'm more than a friend. I'm your relative, right? So the lesson that Krishna is actually telling here is that we must actually practice what we preach. And then Lord Krishna goes ahead to say that whatever it is that you're performing, you should perform that understanding what you're doing. If you perform these activities without understanding what you're doing, then you will not get the proper results. Many a times we too engage in these mechanistic activities, doing things in a mechanical manner without really focusing our mind on that. Our mind is elsewhere and our hands are doing something else. So many a times, I'm sure quite a few of you all may have experienced this. We have left a house and then we think, oh, did I turn off the fan? Did I actually lock the door? It's simply because we are not focused on what we are doing. So similarly here, the Lord is telling, if you don't understand what you're doing, then you won't do with the right intention, with the right mood. And therefore, how will you get the reward? How will you get the resulting consequences in a proper manner? So Krishna actually speaks in a weighty manner. To which Nanda Maharaj then replies, he says, we are actually making an offering for Lord Indra. Why are we offering this to Lord Indra? Because the purpose of human life is dharma, artha, and kama. That is to perform one's duty and also engage for the purpose of economic development, and also get rewards for sensory gratification. So what is all this dharma, artha, kama? He says that, look, we are making this thanksgiving, in a way you could say, to Lord Indra, because Lord Indra gives us rain. And the rain in turn gives us crop, it gives fodder for the cows. From the cows, we get milk and the milk products, and then we get crops. And then from that, we have sustenance, and then we're able to follow our religious principles, and from which we're able to carry on our daily activities. So therefore, it's Indra who sends these rain clouds, and it is from these rain clouds that we are able to do all of this. Therefore, we should honor this demigod. We are therefore making these preparations for thanking Lord Indra, so that he continues to send us these clouds. So basically, what Nanda Maharaj is saying, there's an action and there's an reaction, or rather, there's an act and there's a consequent, benefit that you get, cause and effect. So if you do this, you will get that. So that's what Nanda Maharaj was trying to say. Then, of course, Lord Krishna replies. He says, why do you want to do this? He says, and then Lord Krishna starts with the Karma Mimsa philosophy. Now, the Karma Mimsa philosophy is, in a simple manner, described as atheism with the belief in reincarnation. In other words, the Karma Mimsa philosophy does not believe in God. Or if it believes in God, it believes that God is also subjugated to the principle of karma. That's very interesting. Now, why is this very interesting? Because here's how Lord Krishna tells Nanda Maharaj, you know what, why do you want to worship Indra? Because whatever you get, the rains that you get, is actually because of your karma. It is the actions that you perform, and the actions in turn fetch you these rewards. All right. So Then, of course, Krishna also goes further and he says that, then they may ask, but isn't that being sent by Lord Indra? Then he'll say, even if there is a god like that, the god is also subjugated to the principle of karma, because the god can only reward you if you undertake a particular action.
Could you try again?
So only if you undertake a particular action can the god reward you accordingly. So even that god is also subjugated to the principle of karma. So therefore, the karma mimamsa philosophy doesn't really attach weightage to God at all, which is actually not true. But there is a context in which Lord Krishna is actually speaking this particular karma mimamsa philosophy. So ultimately, of course, Krishna says, you know what, since action is what fetches you everything, karma is therefore your best friend. Karma is your enemy. So it depends upon what type of karma you do. So therefore, you must worship karma. You must worship action. You must worship work. That is what it leads to, the karma mimamsa philosophy. Totally contradictory to what we learn in Krishna consciousness. There's a reason why Lord Krishna does this. In fact, we could say there are three principles that we derive from this. Firstly, Krishna here sometimes subjugates the truth for the purpose of his Leelas. And we have to understand it from that context. And secondly, here, the reason why Krishna is doing this is because there's a greater lesson that he wants to teach Indra. So that's the second reason. And thirdly, of course, Krishna is doing this because he wants to enjoy loving exchanges with the Vrajabasis. All three of these are actually the reason why Krishna gives this karma mimamsa philosophy, right? Which is not really true. All right. So therefore, so that is the reason why Krishna speaks of this karma mimamsa philosophy. And also we must understand that it's not actually the untruth in one sense, because the entire purpose of all the Vedas and everything is ultimately to take us closer to the Lord. And when Krishna speaks of this karma mimamsa philosophy, what really happens is then that you have this wonderful pastime of Krishna lifting the Govardhan Giri hill and all the Vrajabasis coming closer together under him there and spending 24/7 the entire time with him, bringing them closer to him. And that is the ultimate truth, to get closer to Lord Krishna. So in a sense, actually, it is not the untruth as well. So then the second reason why Lord Krishna speaks about this is Lord Krishna is saying, hold on. That's the reason why he's saying, understand what you're doing. He says, do you really know what you're doing? You're my devotees. And as a devotee, devotees have taken complete shelter at the feet of Lord Mukunda. So once you have taken shelter at my feet, then you are not indebted to any demigod. You're not indebted to any great sages. You're not indebted to your forefathers. You're indebted to none, because you've taken the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And since you've surrendered to him, he will take care of everything. You don't have to worship any demigod. Now, the importance that is being given here is, one, worship of demigods is not appropriate for devotees. In fact, worship of demigods is not appropriate for anyone. Worshipping demigods is like watering the leaves of a plant rather than watering the roots of a plant. Once you water the roots of a plant, automatically everything else is derived. So firstly, the second reason, the second important aspect that Krishna is pointing out over here is that, don't worship demigods. Even if you worship demigods, all the results that you get are going to be temporary. At the most, if you worship demigods, maybe you'll go to a higher planetary system, but that will also be in the material world, and you will come back here to Earth again. You will be stuck in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, and so on. So the benefits of worshipping demigods are temporary. And those who have sought the shelter of Lord Krishna don't have to worship demigods. So that's the second most important aspect that comes about, reason why Lord Krishna is pushing them away from this offering to Lord Indra and pushing them gradually towards actually worshipping Govardhan. Right? So The first one, what did he say? He said, Krishna is giving reasons for worshipping Govardhan. He's saying, karma mimamsa philosophy, worship your work. Now, how is that related to worshipping Govardhan Giri? Well, it is related in a sense that he says, Govardhan Giri Hill is giving you everything. He is the one who's giving you the crop. He is the one who's giving you the fodder for the cows to graze. So worship Govardhan. Right? So to continue then, and also most importantly, the reason why he's pushing them away from this particular activity of, offering Indra and worshipping Indra is he says that in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 66, he says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Ma Suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So in other words, he's telling, stop getting into this worship of demigods. Stop doing all kinds of other activities. Stop engaging in all these ritualistic activities of doing yagnas and so on and so forth. Just serve me, just surrender unto me, and I will deliver you from this material world. I will deliver you from all these sinful reactions. So this is the third most important principle, why you don't have to engage in the worship of demigods, and why Lord Krishna is emphasizing again and again, you don't have to do this. So another very important reason over here. And then further, another reason is why Lord Krishna is pushing them away from this is he knows that Indra has accumulated a lot of pride. Although Indra is an exalted devotee, unfortunately, he has accumulated a lot of pride. And Lord Krishna wants to teach him a lesson. But at the same time, we see how nicely Lord Krishna teaches him a lesson. And then, so for all these reasons, and I've already stressed on number 4, that Govardhan gives you all you need. So for all these 4 reasons, Lord Krishna says, worship Govardhan Giri. You don't have to worship Indra. You don't have to make an offering or do this yagna for Indra. Just worship Govardhan Giri. And then they ask him, okay, so how should we worship Govardhan Giri? Lord Krishna then says, make these elaborate preparations, wonderful rasgullas, samosas, kachoris, and all of that, and offer it to Govardhan Giri. And then circumambulate the Govardhan Giri. So this entire worship of Govardhan Giri and the parikrama that devotees undertake, particularly today, there are several thousands and thousands of people who go to the Govardhan Giri today and undertake this parikrama. All of this is actually authorized. It comes from Lord Krishna's words himself, and Lord Krishna himself circumambulates the Govardhan Giri. And then after that, Nanda Maharaj and all the Vrajabasis listen to Krishna and they say, okay, let's do it. And when they say, let's do it, it's not as if they are convinced by Krishna's arguments of karma mimamsa philosophy, no. But their love for Krishna is so intense that they're happy to do anything that he says. And also, of course, Nanda Maharaj has, during the name-giving ceremony of Lord Krishna, Garga Muni had told Nanda Maharaj that this child is transcendental. This child is like Lord Vishnu. He doesn't tell him that he is Lord Vishnu. He tells him he is exactly like Lord Vishnu. So Nanda Maharaj also knows the divine origin of Lord Krishna. Although he doesn't think of him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he only knows that he has divine qualities and that he's going to do a lot of auspicious things. And also that intense love that they have for Lord Krishna. They say, okay, let's do this. And then they make preparations. They make these elaborate preparations and they make this offering to Govardhan Giri. And then Krishna assumes this enormous form. And, and of course, people think that it is Govardhan who's himself come, and he starts accepting all this food. And now starts the wonderful pastimes of Lord Krishna. Then he, and as he starts having all this offering that they've given him, he eats and eats and eats, and he says, Anayor, give me more. In fact, there's a village named Anayor over there. So he says, give me more. And they make some more and they give him. And he eats that as well. And then he says, Anayor, give me more. And then, finally they're running out of all essentials to prepare food. And then finally one elderly Vrajabasi says, give the next time you offer to Govardhan Giri, put a tulsi leaf on that. And then after that, Govardhan is satisfied. So that is the pastime that takes place. Now, after that, what happens? The Vrajabasis then all go back home, and then Indra is furious. Indra, the important lesson that we're going to learn from this is that even though we are devotees, Krishna is sending a warning through Indra. Indra is occupying an exalted position. He is the king of the gods. And he starts thinking that he is the center of the universe and the entire universe is running because of him. His position and his wealth and all of that starts giving him false pride. And because of that, he forgets who he is, that he is the eternal servant of the Lord, that he is just there to carry out his duty in accordance with the Lord's wishes. So he forgets that. And he says, who is this little boy Krishna? How dare he speak like this? What nonsense is he speaking? And just by listening to this little boy who does not know anything, they've decided not to make this offering to me. I will teach them a lesson. And then he calls the Samvartaka clouds. The Samvartaka clouds are the clouds which are called when there's going to be destruction of the entire world. And the Samvartaka crowds are hesitant. Indra is telling them, go there and teach these people of Vrindavan a lesson. Pour heavy rains upon them. They're hesitant, but Indra is so angry that they listen to Indra and they go and they start torrential rains. They say pillars of water. We say drops of water. They say pillars of water falling on the residents of Vrindavan. There are ice blocks, and there's thunder, there's lightning, and the entire effect that comes with the heavy rains. And then the cows. And with the cows, they all run to Krishna, and all the residents of Vrindavan as well run to Krishna, and they tell him, Krishna, help us. Now it just shows how the Vrajabasis are such surrendered souls that they know that Krishna is the one who can protect them. They needn't go anywhere else. So they run to Krishna, accepting that he is the ultimate shelter. And that's again underlearning for us. So Krishna then understands that it is Indra who is doing this and that he is angry. So Krishna runs across and he says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. He runs across and then he lifts the Govardhan Giri and he says, come under, I'll take care of you. Now the Vrajabasi's faith in Lord Krishna is so much that even though he is just a little boy, that they don't worry, oh my goodness, what's happening here? I mean, what if he lets the Govardhan Giri hill fall? What if he gets tired, and if it falls, we'll all be crushed underneath? No such thing. They all just rush underneath this Govardhan Giri. Now, even here, it is specified that Lord Krishna lifts the Govardhan Giri with his left hand. Now, normally, most people are right-handed. Of course, there are left-handed people as well. Now, here, it is deliberately said that Lord Krishna, to rub salt into Lord Indra's injury to his ego, he lifts it with his left hand. Usually left hand is the weakest hand, but of course Lord Krishna has no weakness. He can do anything with any part of his body. So he lifts it with his left hand, symbolically saying, this is my weaker hand. And then with his left hand, he is lifting it with the most weak finger, that is a little finger. He lifts it with a little finger, and that too at the tip of his little finger. So in every sense, Krishna demonstrates how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who tries to say they're God, we should just ask them, can you do this particular pastime, please? So Krishna lifts this particular hill, Govardhan hill. And then what happens here is that the Vrajabasis are all assembled there. And for 7 days and 7 nights, Indra sends forth these furious rains. But in these 7 days, none of the Vrajabasis are touched by even a single drop of water. They're all very comfortable there. And what's very nice over here is now for 24/7, they're all sitting there and gazing at Lord Krishna. They're able to now engage in their pastimes with Lord Krishna. Different devotees, different Vrajabasis are engaging in different types of wonderful pastimes with Lord Krishna. Some of the elder Vrajabasis are going there and massaging Lord Krishna's hands and feet. Oh, he must be so tired. He's lifting this mountain. Some of the younger gopis are putting sticks under the Giri Govardhan, saying, we must help him. How long will he hold it by himself? And in fact, they're even thinking in jest that, oh, you know what, actually we are the ones who are doing it, right? And the others are all just lovingly gazing at Lord Krishna. Earlier, every day, Lord Krishna leaves in the morning along with the other gopis to graze the cattle, and then he comes back in the evening. So they actually are not able to spend the entire day with Lord Krishna. Rather, they prefer to spend the entire day with Lord Krishna. Now they have 7 days and 7 nights, nothing but gazing at Lord Krishna. Krishna is so beautiful, and they have so much of love for him that that's all they wanted. They needed nothing at all. So for them, these 7 days were transcendental. They were the most joyous moments for Lord Krishna. So Krishna actually arranges for all of this. Even in the process of teaching Lord Indra a lesson, he's actually converting it into a joyous occasion where he can have many more pastimes with the gopis, with the Vrajabasis. So then after that, Indra finally realizes his folly. He says, what's happening? He does his best. He does whatever possible. But then nothing happens. The Vrajabasis are all safe under that. And then finally he stops. And Krishna, he's the Paramatma. He's also sitting in the heart of everyone. And he knows now Indra's ego has been properly diminished. And then he says, okay, now we can go back. And he places the Giri Govardhan back down. And then Indra is really scared now. Indra realizes his mistake. And of course, as just to repeat again, the most important lesson for us over here is to understand that material opulences, our position in the material world, can all corrupt our senses in such a manner that we actually move away from the Lord. We don't realize what the truth is. So it is very important for us to be constantly aware of the situation and know that, at any point of time that we can be attacked by material nature and get completely conditioned and take us further and further away from the Lord. So, and now this is the case of Indra, a very exalted devotee, and he commits this mistake. So the lesson for us is that we have to be on guard constantly. And how do we be on guard constantly? By, it's a process, it's a regular process, by doing what you call as devotional service, by chanting the holy names of the Lord, by worshiping the Lord, by surrendering to his lotus feet. So through several different, by constantly listening to, by listening to Harikatha, by singing his glories. So through these various means, we develop the habit of always constantly remembering the Lord, and therefore not deviating away from or undertaking acts which would not make him happy, or which would not be what takes us closer to him. Now, even in this, what's very important is that Lord Krishna is doing something very nice. He's not, Indra is an exalted devotee, and Lord Krishna could have punished him, but Lord Krishna is not punishing him. Rather, what Lord Krishna is trying to do is to, in a very nice manner, he's trying to teach him a lesson. So in other words, Lord Krishna is the one who loves us the most, and one who loves us the most actually gives us what we want and not what we need. What we need may not be what is good for us. What we want is actually good for us. Or rather, Krishna gives us what we need and not what we want. What we want is not necessarily what is good for us. What we need truly for the purpose of our spiritual advancement, for the purpose of eternal happiness, blissful joy, is what Lord Krishna is giving over here. And that is what he's doing for Indra as well. Indra needs only his false ego to be washed away. Indra needs to be purified. So Krishna performs this pastime, giving joy to the gopis on the one hand, and simultaneously teaching a lesson to Indra on the other hand. He does both of this, all with the purpose of giving everybody what they need. Similarly for Indra as well as the Vrajavasis. So, and then of course, Indra then is very scared, how do I now, approach Krishna? I know I have offended the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His eyes are now opened, and he knows who Lord Krishna is, and that he's not just a little boy, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he takes, he's scared of going by himself. So he takes the Surabhi cow, he takes Mother Surabhi, and he goes with he goes with full humility, and he surrenders to Lord Krishna, and he says, "Please forgive me." And that's when Lord Indra offers his prayer, and in his prayers, he starts praising Lord Krishna. He says, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing in this material world or otherwise can affect you." In other words, actually contradicting Lord Krishna's own karma Mimsa philosophy. You're beyond the rules. Karma is a rule. There must be a rule maker, and the rule maker is Lord Krishna, who's beyond these rules. So Indra then surrenders to Lord Krishna, begs and seeks forgiveness, and he says, "Please forgive me. Please, I'm a devotee of you. Please forgive me, and purify my heart." And the way in which he starts is he first glorifies Lord Krishna. Now that's another important lesson for us. We learn from devotees how we approach Lord. Normally when we go to a temple, the tendency is that we pray to the Lord and we say that, I have all these desires, please fulfill these desires. It is a transactional approach, but nevertheless, what Indra is teaching us here is Indra is going there seeking forgiveness. He's not seeking anything material, but he's seeking purification of the heart. So firstly, Indra is not going there to seek something material. Unlike normally what we do when we go to a temple, we might seek something material. But even if you're doing that, the other important thing that Indra's prayers teaches us is how you got to approach the Lord. First is glorification of the Lord. And that's what Indra does here. He glorifies the Lord. And then he proceeds to beg for what he wants. So thank you. With that, I will stop today's discussion, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhuji, there's one thing which I am a little confused about, or I don't understand, is that like Krishna, you said, was about 6 to 7 years old. And
yes, that's correct.
Yes. So when when he was talking to Nanda Maharaj about all these philosophies of karma and all, what is the mood in which Nanda Maharaj took it? Because anybody would think a child of 6 and 7 years old talking like this, it is either you think that the child is talking nonsense, or you realize that, okay, he is something really like he must be the God himself or something like that. And even the Brajavasis, their mood of understanding Krishna when he performed this Lila, which an ordinary person cannot kind of do. How do we understand the mood of Nanda Maharaj and the Brajavasis under these circumstances, Prabhuji?
Very nice question, Mataji. In fact, Lord Krishna's purpose of approaching Nanda Maharaj with these high gravity thoughts of karma mimamsa philosophy and all of that was essentially to make them take him serious. Don't think I'm a 7-year-old boy. Look, I understand all of this. So don't take me as a little boy and stop treating me seriously. I know this. So therefore, please respond to my questions. Right? And with respect to the Vrajabasis, for the Vrajabasis, their love overpowers anything else in their relationship with Lord Krishna. So for them, Lord Krishna is the center of everything. Their whole life surrounds, all their activities revolve around Lord Krishna. It is just to satisfy Lord Krishna. So even if Lord Krishna was speaking all these philosophies, part of the reason why he speaks these philosophies is a learning for us. All right. But part of it is also because he wanted to rub it in, to rub it in with respect to Indra and tell him, look, here we are not interested in worshipping you. We're just going to worship a hill. Karma is more important than Indra. Action or work is more important than Indra. So he was trying to rub this in simultaneously. So there were many things that Lord Krishna was doing. But then the mood of the Vrajabasis when they were listening to Lord Krishna is more than take his word seriously. For them, it is the love and affection that they have for Lord Krishna, where if anything that Lord Krishna says that they will do. So for them, it was not more so the words that Lord Krishna spoke, but it was more so their love for Lord Krishna, which makes them do what Lord Krishna asked them to do. In fact, his entire pastimes in Vrindavan is where, apart from all the wonderful acts that he has performed, he was not there to show his strength or his opulence, but he was there mainly for the purpose of his loving exchanges with the Vrajabasis. That was the dominating theme of his time spent in Vrindavan. And so that is what he had captivated the hearts of all the Vrajabasis. Anything Lord Krishna says, they would just do it blindly. So that was the mood and mentality with which they followed Lord Krishna.
Prabhuji, what about the actions that he does of lifting the Govardhan hill, killing all these demons? Wouldn't one think that he seems to be like a magician rather than thinking he must be the god?
Absolutely. There are many things that Lord Krishna does which actually confuses the Vrajabasis themselves. So immediately after this pastime, Lord Krishna, all the Vrajabasis are speaking. How is this possible? Little Krishna does all these things. When he was a little child, he killed Putana, who came to poison him. And then and then he kills all these various demons. How is this possible? Is he Lord Vishnu? Is he the Supreme Personality of God himself? Or is he some demigod? He must be a demigod. Or could he be the Supreme Personality of God himself? So they have these questions. And then they go to Nanda Maharaj and they ask him, how is this all possible? And then Nanda Maharaj shares with them what Garga Muni had said, that Garga Muni, when he had come for the naming ceremony of the Lord, shared with Nanda Maharaj, saying that this boy has come in different colors in his previous lives. And he has come here with a purpose. He is now, this time he has appeared in this blackish form. And he has come here with a purpose. He will perform many mystic acts. And because Garga Muni knows the truth that Lord Krishna is actually none other than the Supreme Personality of God. But at the same time, he cannot reveal it. He has to say the truth, but he cannot reveal it. So he says, he is like Vishnu. He will perform many transcendental activities. His stay here will be a blessing for you all. So then Nanda Maharaj shares these observations made by Garga Muni with all the Vrajabasis, and then they're satisfied. Oh, okay. So he's not just a magician. He's actually like Lord Vishnu himself. So that satisfies them. Of course, Lord Krishna's activities have caused a lot of confusion among the Vrajabasis, but all their confusion apart, the overwhelming theme in Vrindavan is love and affection. Krishna can do anything, and anything is acceptable. Krishna steals butter, that endears them to him more. Krishna plays some mischief, that endears them to him more. Now, just imagine a context where when we have little children, when you see little children, and if they do some mischief, we don't get angry. Rather, that mischievous act of the child actually makes us more. We start loving the child more. We start speaking, oh, you know what this little child did. Now imagine in the same position, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this most beautiful Madana Mohana form, the most attractive form. He is there as a little child. Imagine how many trillions more, a trillion factors more attractive he would be. He has just simply captivated the hearts of everyone. That's about it, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. That is a wonderful explanation. Does clarify a lot of my doubts. Thank you so much. Pranams. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
My name is Madhusudan. I need some clarity on this karma philosophy. My understanding is that karma, whatever we have done in our previous janam, the effects of that is suffered in this janam, which basically means, if we have done bad things in the previous janam, in this janam we will suffer. If we have done good things in the previous janam, this janam we will enjoy the fruits of that. This is my understanding of karma philosophy. Being in Kali Yuga, I hope this is right. And if it is right, the question I have is, why is this philosophy like this? If somebody has done bad things in this janma, he should also suffer in the same janma. If he has done good things in this janma, he should also enjoy the fruits of the good karma in this janma. Why is it that we don't have any clue on what was my previous janma and what I did in the previous janma, but I suffer the effects of that in this janma, or I enjoy the fruits of that in this janma, and I continue to create sin because I'm enjoying life now. I end up doing sins without realizing that it will impact me in the next janma. Why is this philosophy like this? Why is it that in the age of instant gratification that we all live in, why is it karma philosophy only like this?
Very, very nice question, Prabhu, and I'll try my best to answer that. Of course, in the material world, when we do something wrong, there is a law, and the law then catches up with us, if it catches up with us, and then we have to suffer the consequences. Maybe we have to pay a fine, or we are going to be imprisoned. So that's how the law works here. And even when we imprison, the actual purpose of imprisonment is, even from the proper perspective with which the law operates, is not to punish the person, but to give that person some time away alone, such that they reform themselves. That is the true purpose of law. Now, with respect to karma, if you say every action should lead to an immediate reaction, then there is no kindness in the way in which the Lord works, isn't it? The Lord is so kind. He says, okay, you have done something wrong. Now let's wait for some time. The act that you perform, leads to seeds of reactions within us. Now those seeds will gradually grow, and when they fructify, that is when we experience the reaction. But in the meantime, if we are able to actually take to the proper path of seeking the shelter of the Lord, of realizing who we are, that we are the eternal servants of the Lord, and acting in an according manner, well, that's all. And what happens then is that seed, which is going to grow into a sapling and into a tree, and then give the fruits according to which we're going to benefit, whether it's good karma or bad karma, are all taken care of. You don't have to suffer if you did something in the past. Of course, there may be a smaller punishment that we may get. So actually, the delay between your act and the reaction is an opportunity for you to ensure that you don't suffer those consequences. So that is a kindness of the Lord. So that's the first thing. Now, secondly, why do we have to suffer reactions in the next life? I mean, we are not able to relate to it. I mean, how do I know? There are many people who suffer over here. And when they suffer, we say, why are they suffering? I mean, this is not right. Is there a God? Now, let's just try to remember in this very life, there are many things that take place, painful things as well as nice things. And we try to remember only the nice things. We want to forget the painful things. Now, if we were to carry the luggage of all the previous lives and come into this life with all those painful memories, our life would be miserable. So the Lord keeps offering us new lives with the intention. We must view the human life as an opportunity for us to purify ourselves and go back to the place where we're going to be eternally happy. So the rebirths that we get are essentially opportunities that the Lord is giving us. Now, when we say, Lord, I want to be stronger, Lord, I want to be more humble, Lord, I want to lose my anger. No, he just doesn't give it to you like that, because you have to earn it. And the way in which you earn it is by opportunities which are presented to us. And these opportunities help us to develop these qualities. So the delay between karma, your action and the reaction, is an opportunity for you to reform yourself and to reduce the impact, or probably even completely negate the impact of the actions. And also in the process, it's not just the actions and the reactions that we're negating, but it is also the mentality. We may stop doing acts of karma. When we say acts of karma, we act on three modes. As I said, we act in the mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. All of these three have reactions. Goodness may fetch us better reactions. Passion and ignorance may fetch us bad reactions. But all of them fetch us reactions which keep us on this material platform. So we got to transcend that. Transcending that is service to the Lord. Now, when we say service to the Lord, we might wonder, what is all this? The Lord keeps saying, you're my servant, you're my servant. He's not saying you're my servant, but we say we serve the Lord. And why do we serve the Lord? The best type of service comes when we have deep love for someone. Serving is within our nature. It is our intrinsic nature. We are always serving someone. But the ones whom we love most, our whole mind and body is focused on serving them. When someone is cooking, for someone whom they love, the whole focus is on, how do I make this the best possible preparation? So it is that loving approach that enhances our service, brings us closer to the Lord, and purifies us and cleanses our karma. And therefore, that is nothing but a kindness of the Lord bestowed upon us. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I hope I've answered your question.
Can I just add a little more, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Please.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
So, Madhusudan Prabhuji, Somashekar Prabhu said wonderfully about how the delay between when there is an act and when a reaction comes is actually a time that is there for us to rectify what we did. That is one part of it. And I'd also like to add a few more things here. Number two, quite often the number of activities, or the so-called from the karmic law, the number of misdeeds that we have done or the good deeds that we have done is so huge that it cannot be, the reactions cannot come in one birth. That is number one. So it needs multiple births. And secondly, for getting the reaction for either a good deed or a bad deed, our mental state also has to be modified accordingly to experience it. We are living entities, we are souls who have our own mind, body, and intelligence. This mind, body, and intelligence travels along with us when we move from one body to another body. Now, say for example that somebody has done a good deed, like say he has just opened many hospitals, and maybe he would have to get uh, the reaction in terms of having a good life. But then the person may be in a mood that he does not want to enjoy anything. So for him to get the comforts of life, his mind also has to be modified accordingly, and that takes time. So we need another birth where the mental state too comes to that extent. Of course, we had great acharyas like Sanatan Goswami who just rejected the results of such pious activities too, very simply. And there's a wonderful story behind it. Maybe some other day it can be taken. And a deeper, and one step deeper going here is that we know that the entire process of getting the reactions for karma, either good or bad, being delayed is to rekindle the strong understanding in us that we are eternal souls. Mostly, whenever we ask these questions and whenever we feel such things, it's because for a long time we have been accustomed to having a body. and the body is born and the body is dead. And we identify ourselves with the body. And by doing so, we are saying we have a finite shelf life. We have a finite lifespan. Although the soul is infinite in time. I mean, there's never a time when the soul was born, or there was never a time when the soul dies. So what's happening here is the basis for this question comes from the fact that we are so deep rooted in our understanding that I have a finite life, and the karma and the actions of karma or the reactions of karma that on which we bear to is throwing a light back to us saying, it is not that you have a finite lifespan here. You are infinite, you are eternal. There's a Sat, Chit, and Ananda feature, of which the Sat feature is eternity. We do have that eternal feature, and the reactions of karma make us all the more realize this fact. And therefore, by having these karmic reactions, it helps us to dive deeper into the Chit and the Ananda, the knowledge and the bliss aspect too. And it helps us in our spiritual journey. In this way, the karmic reactions actually help us to take us away from our deep slumber, from our deep ignorance. This is just one additional point I wanted to add.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I have a different question. How do you relate economics to Krishna consciousness?
Thank you. Good question. Of course, we saw how Nanda Maharaj himself spoke about economic development. Well, Mataji, would you like the answer to be more related from heavy duty economics, or would you just prefer a more simplistic one? Because some of you I know come from an economics background, or maybe I'll just.
Anyway,
yeah. So anyhow, when we say how do we relate it to economics, current day economics, or the way in which modern economies work, are driven by the simple principle of efficiency. That is, you got to maximize the benefit that you can get out of the limited resources that you have. So it is a maximizing principle. And what is that maximizing principle? It says maximize your sense gratification. Maximize the benefit that you can get. What benefit? Maximize your profit. Maximize your satisfaction. So that is what it is based on. And through this principle of maximization, they say, we will use our resources more efficiently, and therefore we will have faster economic growth rate. The principle of economics is based on sense gratification. We can actually convert the same principle of efficiency into devotional service. Maximize your resources for the service of the Lord. Don't waste any resources. Instead of using these resources, when you use resources for the purpose of your own satisfaction, there will always be a reaction, because then you're acting on the platform that I am this body and I'm not the soul. But whereas our purpose is to act, to understand and act in accordance with the understanding that we are the soul. So when we act in this way, the same principles of efficiency are utilized for the service of the Lord, then what happens is you respect all the resources that the Lord has given us. We know that we own nothing. Everything that we have, our intelligence, our body, the resources are all the Lord's. And therefore, we must value these resources because it is not ours, it is someone else's. And when we use it, we must use it in a careful manner. And use it for what? Again, the principle of efficiency. Use it in the most efficient manner. And for what purpose? For the purpose of serving the Lord. So while the principle is the same, the objective is different. One objective of using resources in the most efficient manner to satisfy yourself has reactions. The other objective of using resources, none of which are yours, simply for the purpose of the owner, Lord Krishna himself, fetches you no reactions, but rather fetches you spiritual advancement. So in the simple manner, I hope I've been able to answer the question.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much. It was amazing.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, should we, Shyamkund Das Prabhuji, should we stop at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for this
Thank
opportunity.
you, Prabhu.
Thank
Let's
you.
continue
Hare
again
Krishna,
on this
Prabhuji.
topic tomorrow. We'll have a different speaker. Somashekar
Yes.
Prabhu, thank you for taking out time in the midst of your schedule for enlightening all of us. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. And I
Thank
just
you.
want to also state that I'm no longer the registrar of the National Law School. I was the registrar of National Law School of India University. Now I'm in a different capacity. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful explanation for everything.